Hello and welcome everyone to another Chat and Learn here with Power to Fly. My name is Mariella Marie, and as always, I'm so excited to roll through this next hour with you all. I had a chance to speak with Diane, our guest speaker, offline, and I know that she's going to drop a lot of knowledge. We've already been bonding. She's given me some books to read to put on my reading list, and so I just want to go over some quick housekeeping rules so that we all feel comfortable and confident in this next hour. I want to start off by saying thank you so much for joining us. I know that there are a lot of crazy things happening in the world, and you could be doing anything else, but you're deciding to be here with us. So thank you. And with that said, we would love to hear from you in this hour. So I've muted everyone upon entrance just to avoid background noise, but I can't stress enough. I'd love for you to come off of mute and share your voice. You can write in the chat box as well. If you have any information that is sensitive and you want to be kept anonymous, you can find me in the chat box under Mariella Marie and write to me anonymously, and I'll flag that to our guest speaker so that she can approach your response there. The last thing I'll say is that this is being recorded, so I know we live in a world where everyone is multitasking, but we would love your presence, and then you can rewatch this video on Power to Fly later, and then you can take notes vigorously then. But we'd love for you to maximize this hour that we have together. The last thing I'll say is that this is being recorded, so if you come off mute, you will be featured in our live recording, and we'd love for you to keep up with us on socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep up with all the great chats we've got in store. With that said, I'm going to pass the mic to our guest speaker, Diane. I'm not going to read what's here on the screen. I would love to hear from you. If you could let us know a little bit about yourself, how you came to know about Power to Fly, and what you're excited to share with us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Mariella. It's great to be here. I heard about Power to Fly from a friend of mine who was presenting. And she suggested that I present as well. And so I am fortunate to be doing that today. In addition to what you see on the screen there, that is to let you know that I worked in HR for several years. So it afforded me a bird's eye view of how people perform, how people build and destroy their careers, the politics of the workplace. And I've seen people make some disastrous career mistakes. I've seen some shooting stars, and I've seen others who, excelled at a position and then were promoted but didn't get supported and, of course, failed. I've interviewed hundreds of candidates. I've seen probably thousands of resumes. I've onboarded numerous people. And of course, I've offboarded a few as well who weren't paying attention to their careers. So as a coach, I bring all of that experience with me to help people start their careers, make transitions, build careers, and even become entrepreneurs. And I like to say that my specialty is helping people get out of their own way to be successful.
I love that. And speaking of, we've already got some private messages asking for those book recommendations. So we'll make sure that we give that book a shout out when the time is right. I'd love for you to know a little bit about that. With that said, we've got some great questions lined up here. We're going to take these questions one by one. If you see your question come up on the screen, feel free to hop off of mute or write in the chat box if you want our guest speaker to dive in deeper. If this is not your question and you still want to reflect or share some of your own experiences, we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'd love to hear you all speak and share your voice today. So Diane, let's start with this first question here. And we'd love to also, share as much as your journey that as it is called to do so as well. So what did you manage to build? How did you manage to build a better life? Excuse me. So how did you manage to build a better life? I really suck. I feel really stuck. Oh my gosh, let me start this over. Right? I don't want... Normally, I do really well at reading, but today I'm showing my skills. Okay, so Diane, let's start with this first question here. How did you manage to build a better life? I feel really stuck and would appreciate some step-by-step tips to get out of this rut.
Right. I'm going to give you some steps. They're not like step 1, step 2, step 3, because they're not steps that you would do in order necessarily, but you do need to do all of these steps. And I'm not going to dive into them necessarily. So I want you, there's 10 of them, and I want you to write all 10 down first. And then if we want to have a discussion around them, we can do that. So let's start with affirmations. Okay. And I would love, Mariella, if some people want to put their own affirmations in the chat to help other folks, because some folks are not familiar with affirmations or might get stuck again on how to write one. But these are positive things that you say, you write them down and you post them so that you see them every day. It helps that inner self-talk. So you want to do affirmations. Another thing that you absolutely have to do is set goals. Goals are what pull us through life. So if you don't have a goal, you got no place to go, right? So it's essential that you have some goals. Defy disruptions. What do I mean by that? Once you have the goals, you have got to focus on those goals. You don't want anything to distract you from those goals, whatever your career goals might be, your life goals. So that might mean getting rid of a toxic relationship. It might mean changing jobs. It might mean changing careers. But get things out of your life that are going to distract you from reaching those goals. So defy distractions. That's why I say that. Life support is the next one. Now, that doesn't mean you need to be on a ventilator, thank goodness. So we're almost through with that. So you have to have a support system around you. That comes from family, it comes from friends, and it comes in your workplace as well, which we'll get into a little bit later about the internal networking and why that's so important. And of course, outside work as well. So professional relationships. So you've got to build that support system that helps build your personal power. Another thing is to pay the price. Ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price for what I want out of life? That might be something as benign as, okay, not watching so much television, okay? And sometimes I will struggle with myself and say, is this program really going to add anything to my life? If it isn't, I probably won't watch it. But I like watching educational things, documentaries, and things of that nature. So ask yourself that question, is this going to add meaning to my life, whatever the activity might be? So are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing? I went back to school to get a master's because somebody asked me that question for the work I'm doing. I felt like for the work I'm doing, I needed that master's degree. And so I went and I got one, by golly. So, and that brings me to the next step is learning. Always be a continuous learner throughout your life. People that say, okay, I'm done with school, I'm never opening another book. I really have pity for those folks because I'm going to tell you something. If you don't keep learning, keep up with trends in your industry, in the world, talk about being stuck. You are really going to be stuck. So it's very important to be a continuous learner. Be consistent. Once you start doing something, you have to show up. You have to show up consistently. There's an old saying that says winning is showing up. Half the game is showing up to win. So you've got to be there. Be consistent with what you're doing. Do it every day, every week, continually. System. Build a system for yourself. I'm a one-woman operation. This is my office you see here, such as it is. But if I didn't have systems in place, for example, writing a blog, I know that every other Sunday I have to write my blog. Then I post every other day during the next week and a half to get people interested in the next blog. That's my system. So if you have a system, it makes it much, much easier to manage your time, to get things done, to stay on track, and to keep in focus. So systems are extremely important. Be accountable. That's not a dirty word, but being accountable gives you a lot of personal power. That doesn't mean you're never going to ask for help, because part of being accountable, believe it or not, is asking for help. Be responsible for building your career, being responsible for getting help, being responsible for learning, all of those things. But only you can do that. You have to be accountable for getting things done, however that is, whether it's through a mastermind group, through an organization, through family and friends, however you do it, just be sure that you do it. The last one is boosters. And here's what I tell people that come to me often during coaching. Keep a kudos file. During our work life, we have people give us compliments that might be at review time. It might just be somebody sending us an email, hey, great job on that project you did, whatever it might be. You need to take those, put them in a file, whether it's on your computer or, a paper file. but keep those and pull those out and read them when you're down. Plus, when you get ready to either ask for a promotion or change jobs, you can pull those out and use them on your resume, use them on those questions they ask you during the interview, and you'll have them at the ready, because when those times come, we just can't think of them for some reason. Okay. So, the other thing I want to say about being stuck is this: your mind is sending you a message. Okay. There's a book by, here's one of those books, okay? The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, P-E-C-K. Now, Dr. Peck was a psychiatrist. He's no longer with us. But in this book he wrote, he said, I love it when my patients come in and tell me they're depressed. Now, it wasn't that he wanted to see his patients suffer, certainly not. But he knew when they got to that point that they were feeling depressed, something was going on in their mind. The mind knew there needed to be a change. Same thing when you're stuck. Your mind is telling you there needs to be a change. So when you're feeling stuck, here's what I want you to do. I want you to step back. I want you to take some quiet time. This is really important. Take some quiet time and think about why you're stuck. What's causing you to feel stuck? Because I guarantee you there's something on the other side of that word stuck that you want to get to. You got to figure out what that is. So think about that, concentrate on that, focus, and believe me, in a few days, your subconscious is going to pull something up forward for you. Okay. So that's really important to do.
Wow. I mean, I was waiting on you to continue because I feel like I could just listen to you go on with the tips on how to get unstuck. And what's interesting is what's really disheartening is speaking of depression and feeling stuck and overwhelm and burnout, those states of being are growing exponentially these days, and especially now during our current global pandemic. I would love for you to, and I love that you're saying give yourself space, because I love reading about and practicing contemplation, which is something that people don't really talk about. We all talk about productivity and how to be productive and how to get, to the top of the mountain. But if you've ever gone on a hike, it's so beautiful to stop and take everything in and not have anything to do. And it's not to say that you're not doing anything, because that is adding to your journey and your experience. So that maybe you have some beautiful, stories or visions to share when you get to the top of the mountain. I would love for you to speak about, why do you think that there are more and more people feeling stuck, feeling depressed these days?
Oh, wow. Well, of course, the situation we're in, and there have been so many changes. Mariella, you know yourself that the human being does not like change. Okay. We do not go out and seek change ordinarily unless we are motivated to do so by something in our life that does need to change. But there has been so much of a dramatic change and so much drama, if you will, around that change, both real and people manufacturing drama around it. And we hear so many different stories from so many sides today. And look how our work life has changed these days. Remember, it hasn't been that long ago where some workplaces would not even consider letting you work at home. Are you kidding me? I can't keep my eye on you. I'm not letting you work from home. Are you crazy? And now they've been forced to do it. So micromanagers are probably going crazy out there. So and maybe they deserve to go crazy, but now they can realize that they really don't have to be micromanagers, and maybe they can become better managers. But those are the reasons we're so stuck today, is because of so many changes, not only in our world, in our health, but in our workplace. And many people were not prepared for it. Some really don't know how to handle it. And everybody has had to make like 360 turns.
So many gems to chew on there as well. And I love that you're bringing us back to a holistic way of seeing this. And change is the certain thing that's constant, right? So if, and science shows us that. And of course, with our social cues and social awarenesses, everything is changing, especially with technology now. So I just, one last question, how can we be more on that wave of change so that we're better prepared, knowing that change is constant?
Mm. Well, you make an excellent point because life is nothing but a series of changes, okay? One time you were 6 years old learning to ride a bike. Now you're attending high school learning about world history. Now you're in college learning about an industry or a job that you want to do. And you have gone through all those changes beautifully. Um, you get married, you get divorced, there's death, there's birth. That's what life is. Life is change. If you know that there's going to be change, number one, you can expect it. Number two, live your life. And I'm not getting into a preacher mode here because believe me, I'm not putting myself in a judgmental seat of anyone, but you must live your life in such a manner that, let's take money, please. You have got to start saving early. Compounded interest is a beautiful thing. If you save your money, maybe even deny yourself some things that you want, when change does come and it's traumatic, like people that got laid off during this situation we're in, then you would have the backup and you wouldn't be suffering so much. Now, it may not be such a massive change that we're going through, but you will go through changes in life. I can guarantee it. But be prepared, educate yourself, learn. If you do nothing but keep up with trends and what's going on in the world, that's going to give you a leg above many, many people. I guarantee you that.
Well said. Well said. Thank you so much, Diane, for entertaining those questions that I had, those follow-up questions. And if anyone else wants to have some follow-up questions or reflections, I'd love to hear from you. You can write in the chat box. Let's move on to this next question here. I relate to playing the victim. How can we dismiss this self-perspective? How can we get ourselves out of the victim mentality?
Pardon my French here, but this is not like Shakespeare's play, out, out, damn spot. Okay, it doesn't go that quickly. It takes a long time and a lot of work to get over victim thinking, but I will tell you that victim thinking is good for two things. It's a state of mind that allows you to manufacture excuses, and it allows you to place the blame on everybody else but yourself. So that's what victim thinking is good for. Now, Mariella invited me to share some insight into my story. So I'm going to do that now. I was an abused foster welfare child, taken away from my parents at a very young age. I was placed in foster welfare homes where I was sexually abused, beaten one time. Of course, the mental abuse was awful and stayed with me all my life. My mother killed my father. She was sent to prison. That's how I got to Atlanta. So you can imagine that I had some victim thinking going on throughout my life. In fact, I did not go to college until I was in my 40s because I thought I was too stupid to go to school. Now, that's what victimization will do for you, okay? It will not allow you to move forward. So you have got to get rid of victim thinking. You cannot be a victim. If you are a victim, you are giving away your personal power. In other words, you're letting other people control your life. Certainly as a child, I didn't have a choice, but as adults, this is the beautiful thing about America. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what your age is. I don't care where you live. I don't care what your religion, politics, your socioeconomic. You have the ability to make choices. You have the ability to make choices. So you can choose to be a victim thinker if you want to, because that's a choice. Or you can choose not to be a victim thinker. That's probably a better choice. We talked about affirmations a while ago. Here's one that you can use if you feel like you're a victim thinker. I am not a victim thinker, nor will I ever be a victim thinker. That's an affirmation that you can write down, look at it every day. Here's something else you can do to not be a victim thinker. And it's a great time management tool too. So you're getting 2 for 1 here today. Say no. When other people ask you to do things that you know are not fitting into those goals of yours, say no. And you don't have to make up a bunch of excuses. You don't need to make up excuses. You have your reasons. Sorry, I can't do that right now. I've got something else to do. I will talk to you later. Okay. So that's a great time management tool, and also gets you out of situations that you really probably don't need to be in, wasting your time, because you're not going to be able to meet your goals if you do those activities. Okay. And certainly say no to activities that are not healthy for you. Okay. I don't need to get into all that. How about being grateful? I would be curious to know, Mariella, how many people on the call today might keep a thankful journal, a journal of things that they're grateful for, because I, I, no, regardless of what I've been through, I have so many good things in my life. I have so much to be thankful for. And that gratitude really has helped me, along with my sense of humor, has helped me get through many, many situations that I've been in. There's always going to be somebody richer, poorer, prettier, uglier, rich, whatever. So don't compare yourself to other people. Be who you are and be grateful for what you have, because you have to start where you are right now with what you have. You might want to write that down.
Yes, I love this. I love this. And actually, I want to flag one of the affirmations here that Lucy has written. Lucy says, thank you for sharing your story. And I echo that. Thank you, Diane, so much for sharing your journey. I believe in visibility. And I feel like when we are able to share our personal journeys, and what keeps us full of integrity and responsibility and love and compassion, that has this, echo effect, and hopefully someone on this call, will carry that with them as well. I know I will. So thank you, Diane. Lucy writes for her affirmation, I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents.
Oh, beautiful. Perfect. Love it.
And speaking about the gratitude journal, I have a practice of writing just to dump all of these thoughts out, get them somewhere so that I don't have to deal with them on my own. Right. And I do find that I do often write about things that I'm grateful for. So and I find that it works. It's a good mirroring effect too. You see, okay, I'm grateful for this, and how was I involved in this, and how can I continue to pass that on? So I definitely recommend folks keep a gratitude journal. I don't have an official gratitude journal, but I would like to, actually, now that you are recommending it.
Okay, good. Excellent. Self-talk is really, really important. You've got to get rid of negative self-talk. I actually had to say, when the negative thoughts would come into my mind, I actually had to say stop out loud. I had to say it out loud to make myself stop negative thoughts. So even if you have to go that far, do it.
Yes, I agree. Lucy also writes that she got her 9-year-old daughter, or 9-year-old, I'm sorry, I don't know if you wrote son or daughter, a gratitude journal, a great gift for anyone. Great. Thank you, Lucy.
Great idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to this next question here. Which questions should we be asking ourselves in order to thrive? How can we identify the aspects of our lives that are holding us back?
That's a good one. Again, let's get back into our quiet space, okay? So we want to ask ourselves these questions. What was I doing a year ago? What has changed in that year? What do I need to change in the next year to be successful and to get the life that I want? I have my coaching clients. I just thought about this. I have my coaching clients, when they come in, they take a piece of paper and they do it lengthwise, landscape. And I have them just draw a straight line through it. And I have them write their age at the front of the line. And if they have a spouse or if they have children, write their ages there. And you can do this in either 5 or 10-year increments. What age are you going to be in 5 years and those other folks? What age are you going to be in 10 years and those other folks? It really helps give you a perspective of what you need to be doing and the time that you have to do it in, by looking at that timeline and seeing what time you have left and where you want to be during those time frames. Go all the way out if you think you want to retire. What how much money are you going to need to support the lifestyle that you want at that time? Or if you don't want to retire, maybe you don't want to keep up the pace that you have today, but you might be wanting to work at something or start a nonprofit. I had a coaching client that she wanted to go start a nonprofit in another country, which is great, but she had to start planning now to do that, to get to that point. So that's something very, very strong that you need to consider. Think about, how are you spending your time? Just like we talked about a while ago, are you spending it in activities that are not going to help you get to where you want to go? And of course, who are you spending it with? You need to be spending your time with the people that can help you, that can inspire you. I strongly recommend mastermind groups. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's just simply a group of like-minded people who meet once a week, once a month, twice a month, whatever you want to do. You could start one or you could join one. What you do is you give each other encouragement. For example, I'm of course mostly in business masterminds, and like, let's say I have a piece of marketing material, or you have a resume, and you let the people in your group look at it, and it has to be private. I mean, everything that goes on in that group stays in that group. So these have to be people that you trust. But that really gives you inspiration. It keeps you motivated. Just like-minded people that want to grow like you want to grow. Excellent, excellent way to thrive. Okay. Again, supporting one another. How can I support other people? And how can I get support from other people? It's a two-way street. Okay. You've got to just surround yourself with the environment in terms of physical space and people that you need to be in to thrive, and keep asking yourself those questions. Where do I want to be? What am I doing now? Is what I'm doing now going to get me to where I want to go?
So I know you'll like this. I actually just ended my Netflix subscription a couple months back. I join my partners whenever we need to watch something that I can't watch anything anywhere else. But for that exact same reason, I was like, you know what? I can't watch what the main suggestions are. Everything is like dystopian, and the actual reality is dystopian. I was like, okay, I don't want to go there. I want to think about something different. So I started to challenge myself to look at different sites that offer different films and documentaries. There is I think it's called the National Canadian Film Board, all free, beautiful films, documentaries, animation. And I would have never found that had I just relied only on Netflix. So anyway, I'm practicing that. I'm practicing what you're preaching now. And I definitely see results as far as being exposed to different stories, having my mindset also be challenged, and in a beautiful way, not to where I'm feeling even more depressed from the content that I see on Netflix. And I don't mean to down Netflix, but
Oh yeah, I know. And Mariella, you make a good point in that challenging ourselves. That's the only person we need to challenge is ourselves. And if you keep doing that, you will thrive. I promise.
Thank you.
Good for you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to this next question. Can you elaborate on what you mean regarding career risks and why they're a good thing?
All right. So if there's a problem at work, for example, and nobody's addressing it or looking at it, look at that problem, come up with a solution. Now, let me suggest that you stay within your pay grade. For example, you can't write a note to the CEO and say, the whole executive board needs to be fired. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about something that is stopping a process from being successful. One coaching client I had wanted to institute a formal coaching program where he worked at the time. And I said, I think that's a great idea. Why don't you sit down and talk to the CEO? He was on the executive board, and he said, okay. So he did. And there was another part to this story in that the CEO kind of forgot about it. So I said, this is really a little bit bigger than just a suggestion. Business people submit proposals, and there's nothing wrong with you writing something down, because if there's money involved, if there's time involved, any kind of resource involved, whoever you're presenting this to needs to know about that, how that's going to be handled. So you need to come up with details about the solution, if you get my drift. In other words, is it going to be expensive? Can the company afford it? And if they can't, where could you get the funds from? Could you sell t-shirts? I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. So if you see a problem, come up with a solution, but be sure that you present it in such a way that it really looks serious and that somebody will take it seriously. Another thing that you could do is you might consider making a lateral move. That might be a risk in the sense that you might think you need to keep going up and up and up, but that's not necessarily true, especially today. If you make a lateral move, you might be offered the opportunity to learn things that you might not learn if you just went straight up or in a different direction. I mean, some people, come on, have taken positions where they've earned less money simply because they wanted to learn about something. So there's all kinds of ways to make different career moves. And yes, they can be risky, but there is no problem that can't be solved either. So, and it might be quitting your job. That might be a risk as well. But one time in my life, I quit a job without having another job. The job was so bad. It may come to that, but always have some other job in mind. And I also recommend that people have a side hustle if they have a job. Have a side hustle, because I mean, look what's happened now. That side hustle could have come in pretty handy, I would think. And another misconception that people have when they have a job is that they're not in business for themselves, but they are. You are absolutely in business for yourself. You're the product. You're the one you're selling. You have services and skills and talents that you sell every single day. And I think once you look at your career and yourself as an entrepreneur from the entrepreneurial mindset, you will take a different attitude about your career, and it might even spark more passion in the position that you're in. So I strongly advise that you to start thinking about that. You might ask for a raise. That's a risk as always, but be sure that you can present why you think you're worth that raise as well. It could be a risk, but also I think that people will take you more seriously and start looking at you and say, wow, if they think that they're worth it, maybe I need to take another look at this, particularly if you give them the reasons why. Another risk is you might, instead of taking a vacation, shadow somebody on their job. So that gives you the time to do that if you're really passionate about something. I read a story the other day about this woman who was a management consultant, but she wanted to be a chef. So she wrote letters to chefs telling them why she wanted to work with them. And in a matter of days, she had a job.
That's beautiful. That's so encouraging. And it's just about opening that world of possibilities, right? I mean, I think that sometimes we get to go back to the question about feeling stuck. Sometimes we just get in this very lateral, linear way of thinking. And I love that you give that you're highlighting. Maybe the move is not linear. Maybe it's not just going up. Maybe you do go lateral. And how is that more holistic? Actually, you're growing more instead of just doing a one track, using one part of your mind kind of career. And I know that it's probably frightening, but as we started a couple of minutes ago saying that change is necessary for growth, right? So Absolutely. To be ahead of that and to be with the change, also I think would be a resource and a support system for yourself. I love that everything that you're speaking of, it's intertwining, and it's beautiful, this beautiful web of encouragement. The other thing that I wanted to reflect on also that you mentioned was about everyone should have a side hustle. I love that. Yes. And now is definitely a time when that's coming out. I'd love to hear you speak a little bit more about that. Maybe there are some people who are, still wondering how to, drop everything and go to this passion. I'd love for you to speak about side hustles a little more.
Oh, great. I'm glad you asked that, because it's never been easier. Today, the playing field is so level for everyone because of the internet. It used to be that only big companies could do the advertising and the marketing that we can do today on the internet. In fact, I was just telling Mariella about a kind of a side hustle I have where I'm doing a podcast, a video podcast, and I interview other entrepreneurs. And the purpose of my YouTube channel is to help other entrepreneurs with ideas and ways to build business, to grow their business, market, and advertise. So um, they're getting a free marketing video. I'm getting content for my YouTube channel, and entrepreneurs all over the world are getting information. In fact, I interviewed just in a week's time, this past week, a gentleman from Ireland and a woman from Slovenia. It's right here from my little computer. So it's really been exciting. And as you know, you can monetize a YouTube channel, and that would be passive income, which is what you really want, is passive income. So you could do a course online and get passive income from that. Writing a book is not necessarily a way to make money, but it gives you great credibility. Now, I've written 5 books, but they are on different topics. Okay. So my advice would be, if you are going to write a book, to make it about a topic that you really want to pursue and that you've set goals around. You can write ebooks. It doesn't have to be war and peace. Okay. But it does have to have good content in it. So that's another thing where the playing field has been leveled. I've self-published all of my books. So you can do that very easily today. So the internet has just made everything far, far easier to do today, to have a side hustle and to make a decent living. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that. I hope that more folks will be encouraged to use the resources. I often go back and think, what would the greats do? Like some of the artists that I admire, like, I don't know, Beethoven or James Baldwin or Josephine Baker or Shakespeare, how would they use these resources, with their same passion and gifts? How would they do that now? And I find that helpful, because sometimes I get really frustrated with social media and technology, and just, how it can be just so absurd, and it can actually block movement if we let it, right? So I go through my moments of social resistance, social media resistance, and then I go back and I say, but what would the greats do? And then I find, like, well, duh, they would use it, because otherwise they were relying on, mostly one kind of organization, one kind of person that maybe historically speaking doesn't represent lots of variety, lots of diversity. So you're hoping and praying that, this one corporation will say, yes, we'll market this for you. It's like, no, let me do this on my own. So I love that you're highlighting that.
Right. And Mariella, that's an excellent point. The other thing is to remember that all of those people had the same number of hours in every one of their days that we have. What did they do differently?
Oh, what a great, I'm going to put that on my list of reminders as well. It's like, I often find myself saying, what is time? Especially now that, we're kind of, we have to be static to a certain extent, and then the days pass by, but you're so right to reflect on that. The greats also had 24 hours in a day.
That's right.
All right, let's move on to this next question here. So I lost all my confidence after one really bad job experience. Do you have any tips to overcome this situation?
So I'm going to be flippant here for a moment. Okay. If you were in a car accident, would you quit driving? If you burned the biscuits at breakfast, would you quit cooking? One bad experience cannot deter you from anything. There is a quote by Calvin Coolidge. For those of you who are not in our country on this call, he was our, I think, 32nd president. But he has a quote on persistence. And I want everyone on the call to look that quote up, print it out, and keep it close to you where you can see it every single day. Because persistence tops everything. I don't care if somebody's educated, if they don't take action, they're not going anywhere. I don't care if somebody's smart, if they don't do something, they're not going anywhere. But persistence is the key. do small steps at first. If something has really gotten you down, okay. For example, I was extremely shy, of course, about getting out, but I started joining organizations. And I would go to these meetings and I would sit in the back of the room and hope nobody noticed me. And as soon as the meeting was over, I would leave, okay, hoping nobody would speak to me. But I just started building my presence. And pretty soon I found myself president of one of the associations, the National Speakers Association, the Georgia chapter. But that was one of the associations I used to sneak into. So take baby steps for whatever it is that you want to do to get over, but don't let something keep you down. And persistence, along with consistency, will get you where you want to go every time. I would put that in writing for you.
Yes. And actually, we've got someone here who wrote in the chat box the exact quote, which I love. If you can't do something at once, do something at one. That's beautiful.
Love it. Love it. Great.
Thank you for looking that up. All right. Let's move on to this next question here. So I feel stuck in my career path and I believe no success will come from this actual role. How can I impose a more positive outlook on my professional future?
Mm. You know, climbing the corporate ladder isn't what it used to be, okay? Some of the rungs are missing today. Some of the rungs are broken. But more importantly, you can build some of the rungs yourself. And I think that is needed today more than anything when you start building your career. This is the perfect question for what we're trying to get at today. Taking your personal power and networking internally, okay? Let's do an exercise. If you could take a sheet of paper and draw a circle in the middle of the piece of paper and write the word me, representing you in the middle of the paper, okay? Then I want you to start with your department and draw a line to the person that you see most every day, that you interact with the most every day. Now, if that person is somebody you know, like, and trust, I want you to make that connecting line thick. If it's not somebody that you don't trust so much, make the line thin, okay? But keep doing that, starting with your department, then going out. What about vendors? What about maybe somebody that's outside your organization in a legal capacity that you might deal with? What about somebody that you call for advice about something every once in a while for insurance or whatever it might be? You should wind up with a sheet of paper with like 15 people on it just within your company. The reason you want to do this is a strong internal network as well as an outside network, but let's concentrate on our inside network right now, gives you strong personal power. The stronger your network, the more personal power you have. These people know things that you might not ever get an opportunity to know, particularly if they're above you or in peripheral positions around what you do. Why? Because they hear different information, or they might hear the same information from a different perspective. And speaking of starting out, people that feel stuck and they don't know where to begin with somebody that you might see more often, but maybe are not in your department, and say, would you like to have a cup of coffee? I want to pick your brain about blah, okay? But be mindful of their time. Keep it to 15 or 30 minutes, no more, okay? Otherwise, they'll avoid you. But that is the way you start meeting people and get people to trust you. They're going to know somebody. I don't know if you've ever seen a chart of how a networking system can build so exponentially that it gets just really, really wide. I've had people send me an email and say, I would love to connect you with so-and-so. Oh, I know so-and-so. In fact, I interviewed them on my show. Well, people get the impression that I know everybody. Of course I don't, but I do know a lot of people, and maybe they aren't all really deep relationships, but I know who knows what about something. So it's important for you to get connected with these people because of the information they can bring. And also, don't forget, you can be a help to those people as well. It's always a two-way street in networking. Don't ever forget that.
I love this reminder of that it's a two-way street. It also, I forgot to comment earlier when you were saying, you are working, you are giving your services. I remember when someone spoke about working for an organization or a company, you are in partnership. It's not like they are your master. They have the position of being the boss, but this is a partnership. You need them, they need you, instead of, giving everything over to them. I love seeing it as that, a partnership. And also that you said you are providing your services, your talent, your skills, your energy, your time. So thank you for that reminder. And then also with the network, I'd love for you to speak about social networking right now, because, LinkedIn is the new rave, and, we have all these other social networks, and there are often questions about, like, how do I make sure that I'm being authentic about making these connections, and how do I make sure I don't get burnt out by always thinking I need to be on social media and then get lost in it. And so I'd love for you to speak a little bit about that, networking specifically, online with social media. Let's say we've never met in person, like you and I, Diane. I know that hopefully we'll one day meet. If not, we will build our virtual networking, because I think that we have a lot to learn with each other. But, how can we make sure that those relationships are authentic and that they are purpose driven, let's say?
Exactly. Here's one thing I do. Now I'm trying to build my network because I want the people that I do these interviews for one thing, to be exposed to as many people as they can for their marketing video that I do. But I also want to promote my business, where I do the coaching and work with assessments and so forth. I will send someone that I'm interested in. I'm not a lion where they call those open networkers. I'm not like that. Okay. I find people that I do think we have something in common. And I will say, let's say it's an HR person, and I will say, hi, Betty. We have 12 people in common, and we share similar professional interests. Please join my network. I might look and find something in their profile that I absolutely adore. I will put that quote in their invitation to connect with me, so that they know. And do not pitch them on something. Do not. Let me say that again. Do not connect with somebody and then pitch them on something. That'll get you a disconnect quicker than anything. Social media, I said this to my husband the other day, social media is a demanding mistress, particularly in business and in building your career. Yes, you can stay on there. You can spend 24 hours on there, but you don't need to. Find some platforms that you really connect with. I like LinkedIn because it's heavy business. I have a Twitter account. I also have a Facebook account. And now my YouTube channel, and now Instagram. Okay, I'm learning Instagram. Don't go to my Instagram channel. You'll say, because you'll say, oh, that's ugly. Also, you have to have a system. Limit yourself. I want to connect with 5 people today, or I want to check back in with so-and-so. I heard they had a project, or I saw where they were doing a program. How did the program go? Go to the program if you can. It's easy today online, just like this. We promoted this, okay? If somebody wanted to see me, it would be easy for them to do it today, because everything's virtual. So connect with people in a genuine way, have something in common, mention that when you connect with them. Maybe send them an article of interest. That's another way to stay connected with people, both internally, externally. That's part of networking as well. If they have a hobby, or if you have a common business interest, send them an article. That's helping them and you keep up with trends. That's a great way to stay in touch. Now you begin, look, it's a slow process. It's a slow process. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. It takes time to build trust. We all know that. That's no secret, but it can be done. But you need to start where you are with what you have.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Diane. And good luck with the Instagram. I know that everyone, I remember when I moved back to Argentina, and actually Instagram wasn't even a word here yet. Everyone was mostly on Facebook, and I was like, well, you just wait and see, and now it's great because people can can start their own businesses or spread awareness on certain topics that maybe, they wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So I have my qualms with social media, but at the end of the day, it does have a lot of great, networking opportunities when we do it with intention, right, Diane? When we do it with intention and we don't abuse it and allow the demanding mistress to just take control.
That's right. Look, I get people to come interview with me that don't know me from Tom's House Cat. It's amazing. It just blows my mind every time.
And then we're able to see how much more we have in common, right? That you were able to interview someone from Ireland and making the connections more global and authentic. Hopefully that will be a big solution to all of these challenges that we're seeing, rear their heads at our faces right now. This global, authentic global community. So let's do it, y'all. We can do it. All right, let's move on to this next question here. And I just want to let folks know that we've got about 8 minutes left. So if you have not had a chance to write in the chat box or come off of mute, now's your time to shine. Until then, we'll move on to this next question. So what's the benefit to leveraging our internal professional network, and where should we start internally?
Yeah, we kind of addressed that a while ago, but let me add something to that. There's another side to networking. People think when I go to a networking thing that I'm just out to see who I can meet, what I can get from them. That's really not the purpose of networking at all. You're going to meet people to broaden your horizons, to get different perspectives, and also to make your network stronger so that you'll have a stronger support system. But think about this. If you know a lot of people, think about the people that you can help or connect. Be a connector. It's rare that someone doesn't say, hey, I'm looking for somebody who does such and such. And I can't say to them, oh, I know somebody that does that. Let me put you in touch. In fact, one of the people I interviewed today, or this week, who's actually, she was on CNN. She was an anchor on CNN. She says, Diane, who does your editing? Well, I do my editing, but I connected her with someone who does editing because I just met this gentleman recently, and that is his passion. So I hooked those two up. So that's part of networking. It's like, when people say to me in coaching, well, I don't want to make a lot of money. And I go, what? Yes, you do, because the more money you have, the more people you can help.
Beautiful. Going back to that purpose, right? And
Exactly.
Connecting with the reason why are we deciding to use our time this way and using our energy and resources. I love that you're challenging us to think of it as that, to be a connector, not to just be the one on the receiving end. And because then you're right, that's how you disconnect. That's how you you don't make the connections, and you don't make them authentic by wanting and expecting. It's like giving and working from a place of service. We were talking about this on the interview that I had earlier today. When we work from a place of service, like we genuinely want to connect, to learn more about ourselves and the world, like that just flips work, the concept of work on its head, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Be the go-to person. You'll get a great reputation from that for sure.
Beautiful. All right. So I think we've got time for one more question. And then I'd love to pass the mic back to you, Diane, so you can give us some food for thought after this question here. So let's move on to this one. I need to leave my professional comfort zone, but I don't know which way to go. Any self-discovering tips? What's the best way to ease into networking without getting overwhelmed?
Well, of course, you start with one person at a time. People ask me, how do you write a book, one word at a time? Okay. Start in your comfort zone, join associations, but you also do want to do that self-assessment piece. Self-assessment is the foundation for strategic thinking, leadership, and EQ. So self-assessment is so important. And the way to do that is you can hire a coach. You can take an assessment, be sure you get a good one that's scientifically backed. You can work with friends who know you well. Make a list of your talents, your skills, your attributes, so that you'll really begin to self-assess and ask yourself the questions, how can I use these talents? what goals do I need to set to use these talents? Where are they going to be the most useful for me for the goals I do set? I have, here's another question I ask my coaching clients sometimes when they get um, they can't think about where they want to go or what they want to do. What did you pretend to do when you were 7 years old? For me, it was being a teacher. In fact, I have a pencil, a picture of me with a pencil in my hand before I was even taken away from my parents. And I write a lot and I love teaching. And since I didn't go to school, I started training. So I got into the training department. I started in the HR department as a administrative assistant. And the training position came over. I applied for it and they hired me to do that. I had absolutely no education at the time except high school. But of course, like I say, I did eventually go back to school. So think about what it was that really you had a passion for as a young person. That will give you some clues right there. Think about this. What would you do even if you didn't get paid for it? And I would coach people. I would coach people even if I didn't get paid for it, but don't tell anybody, okay?
But then on the other side, it's like, well, the realization of, okay, you have this gift, you're using the time to help, accomplish X, Y, and Z. The other party wants to give you what is going to be beneficial for you to continue with your dream. So it's not like at that point I should say, well, I'm not going to pay you, Diane, because I know you do it for free, because that'd be me taking advantage of your services and your gifts. I think that I love that you speak about emotional intelligence. So I love speaking about this topic. I think that is the light that we need to be moving towards, just to help, get us out of these sticky situations with how the workplace, is changing, but still we have a lot of room and a lot of things to do in order to make it more balanced and more fair. So I love that you're highlighting emotional intelligence, but first it starts with self-reflection, right? So thank you always for bringing us back to self-reflection, that contemplation tool, realizing that we do have the gifts that we need, and we just, it's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. So we've got about 1 minute left. You've been sharing so many beautiful points here. I'd love for you to leave us with some food for thought, so that we can, keep things flowing in a way that is good for us and good for the communities around us. Can you leave us with some food for thought, and then let us know how we can find you online when we end this chat?
Yeah. Don't let anybody steal your dream. You are just as good as anybody. You're just as smart. You can do anything you want. And let me tell you that there's almost no place on this globe that you can do it better than in America. Okay. We still have choices. We still have so many resources available to us. In that book, Up From Nothing, that I was telling Marielle about, that book really personifies that fact. The woman that started Spanx, she made that comment one time on a television show that I could not have done as a woman, done what I have done in business today unless I had been in America.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Diane. And how can we connect with you when we finish this chat?
You can email me if you want to, Diane at dianebogino.com.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, everyone who has been here for the past hour, or if you're rewatching this video, we really appreciate you. And Diane, thank you again.